Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of the JustNabz podcast with me, Nabila, as you should know by now, and
Nabil, as you should know by now.
no adjectives today.
No, and if you're new and you don't know, go check all the past episodes. It's completely fine. Oh Lord, how are you?
I am very well, and you?
I'm very fine.
How's the fast treating you?
Quite well, I shall say. Far better than past years. I think my body has grown to adapt to a month in a year where I don't eat or drink. So I'm very, very well, thank you. How about you?
Yeah, it's good as well. It's still a bit hot here, but it's manageable.
Is it?
Not as bad as the first day. The first day was terrible.
Well, to be fair, it's quite cold in here. I mean, not cold, but I'd say it's livable. It's been cold the very first days, but it's getting better now, with sun coming out and everything. So, yeah, extremely pleasant.
Okay, that's nice. How crazy has this whole European Super League thing been?
Well, I loved it. I've been following all these news on Twitter, and there was this Twitter profile, the Madrid Zone, which was constantly giving updates, like at least like 2 or 3 updates per minute, and it's been so fun to follow it.
It was so funny, the memes that came out of that, the jokes.
Absolutely.
I mean, people were getting so hot-headed about it. Like, yeah, I think it was more funny than it was upsetting for me personally. But I know people were genuinely upset. Chelsea fans were out at the stadium protesting. Liverpool fans put up banners. United fans put up banners outside the stadium. So, yeah.
So, but just to say, by the pace this is changing, we have to point out that we are recording on a Wednesday morning. It's 10 a.m. Italian time, GMT +1. So it's 10 a.m., which means that things can change, and things can happen. So
this whole saga happened in 56 hours.
Exactly.
From the first minute that it broke till the first team pulled out.
Yeah.
It was 56 hours, which was faster than, it was quicker, it was shorter than Kim Kardashian's marriage to Chris Humphries. I'm just saying.
Just a quick recap for all those who do not. Yeah.
Let's put it into context for people who don't follow football, who are not football fans, but have been seeing this around and they're like, what the hell is going on? So, yeah, we'll just take it from the top. From day one, from Sunday, 18th April.
Yeah. So, as you know, in European football, we have national leagues, and then we have a couple of European leagues, the Europa League and the Champions League. You should have heard of the Champions League by now. And basically what happened is these top clubs in Europe, 12 clubs, it appeared on Sunday evening, released a joint statement saying that they were filing for procedures to set up a new Super League, and this new Super League would have been basically a league of these 12 clubs plus 3 other clubs that were to join, so 15 permanent clubs, and then plus 5 clubs which would join year by year based on merit. And these top clubs are like Real Madrid, Liverpool, Manchester United, AC Milan, Juventus, and all these top clubs of Europe. And
the top clubs and Arsenal and Spurs, let me just add.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't know why they were there. I mean, Spurs, especially Spurs. Why Spurs?
Arsenal had to fire their dinosaur.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah,
but Spurs. But anyway,
Spurs.
Yeah.
With their empty cabinet, were hoping to have a free pass.
Well, anyway, so this whole thing broke out on Sunday at 11:30 p.m. I reckon, Then on Monday, so this whole thing started from Real Madrid's president Florentino Perez, and helped by Juventus president Andrea Agnelli. These two presidents combined are those who pushed the Super League more than ever. And on Monday evening, Florentino Perez, Real Madrid president, went on El Chiringuito TV to give an exclusive interview trying to explain what is the Super League. At the same time, FIFA and UEFA were firing their best shots at all these clubs joining the Super League, threatening to push them out of the Champions League, which then later appeared to be turns out to be illegal. So all these clubs would have pursued the Champions League pass and the National League pass. But then, come Tuesday, on Tuesday evening, after much pressure on English clubs, it appears that even political pressure has been applied on these clubs. Manchester United, City, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Tottenham decided to withdraw from the Super League and filed to withdraw from the league. And following their withdrawal, the whole Super League has been suspended for the time being, with statements saying that all these clubs would have been seeking a change in the project itself to present a new project to go on with. So it appears at this moment.
Ed Woodward is also stepping down as executive vice chairman of United at the end of the year. Whether that was bound to happen or it happened because of this, I am so glad. United fans have been wanting this man out for years now.
How come?
The decisions he makes is not in the club's best interest. He is the Glazers' puppet boy.
Oh, okay. So good news for you, at least.
Yeah. But I heard Juve's someone resigned from Juve.
It is rumored that the president Andrea Agnelli, one of the two who pushed the Super League to this point, might have resigned, but he hasn't, and is hardly going to. But who knows?
The whole thing that blows my mind about this whole thing was that it was done so messily. There was no PR. I don't think they even had a PR agency or firm representing them. They just sort of like announced it on their Twitter pages, and United didn't even announce it on their Twitter or social media. They just had an announcement on the investment page. And it was kind of like, okay, we're posting it, but we don't know what's going on. And I mean, on Liverpool's page, their official club statement, there was nothing, there were no words from anyone from Liverpool's side. It was a statement from someone from United. So this whole thing, it was such a mess, and they had no plan. They were like, okay, we're starting this league, and then let's just wing it, sort of how I live life. But I mean, there's billions of pounds and dollars involved in this. You're playing with big companies and investors and investments, and
I do agree, but then again, they were all going against FIFA and UEFA. Yeah. You cannot plan that. Your best gun at the moment for those presidents was not giving FIFA and UEFA time to reflect and see how they can proceed on their side. Even more, UEFA president said on Monday that up until Saturday he was talking to Andrea Agnelli, and Agnelli was denying any existence of the Super League up until Saturday. So it really came as a surprise. Now, the Super League, to be fair, let's give some context here. It is something that every single club has been talking about for years now.
For years, yes.
And every single club, even clubs that did not make it to this Super League elite list. We have Napoli, for instance. Napoli's president has been talking about the Super League since 2010. It's 11 years now. So every single club has been talking about the Super League. And the thing is about the Super League is, so UEFA now, the whole structure based, how UEFA based the whole structure cannot be sustained by some clubs. So for instance, Inter, which was the second team of Milan, and which was one of the teams in the Super League, now sit on 630 million euros of debt. They cannot sustain that. They either sell it.
I think a lot of Italian and Spanish clubs are in heavy debt.
Exactly. And the pandemic made things even worse. Now, in August 2020, these presidents went to UEFA and said, we need to scrap the financial fair play first. We need to make investments and go on with investments to bring fans and bring revenue to our clubs. Because yes, now the thing about football, it is a sport, and it is a beautiful sport, and sport should come first. I do agree, but when your club, because AC Milan was on the brink of collapsing, when your club is on the brink of collapsing, on the verge of collapsing, I can see why you can think economically first, rather than from a sports perspective. The European Super League, from a Spurs perspective, was so bad on so many levels. And I do agree with Guardiola when he said it is not sports when success is guaranteed. And I do agree with that, absolutely. But the Super League had this system allowing these clubs, because Real Madrid itself is having some big, huge financial problems now. And I can see why these clubs were pursuing the Super League. It had also many good ideas, but I wanted to ask you, what do you think of the Super League itself, in the whole concept and the whole thing that went on?
So for me, why I enjoy football, first and foremost, is the whole idea of so you have your big clubs. So I'm talking Premier League and other leagues, La Liga. Is that it's you have your big clubs with all the money and the good players, and then you have the smaller clubs who have to fight for their positions to stay in these big leagues, because everything depends on that. And so they're so passionate about the way they play. So you'll see like smaller clubs like Burnley coming in and suddenly turning into Barcelona against United, and it's so fun to watch. Like, you don't expect your club to go down to a smaller team. But yeah, and then when it comes to end of season and it's time for clubs to be relegated, and there's 1 point between them, and it's down to that last match where they're fighting to stay in the Premier League, like Aston Villa last season. It was goosebumps. It was very intense to watch. Was it last season or the season before, where Aston Villa were fighting to stay in?
I think it was 2019. It was 2019, yeah.
Yeah, so that's it for me. And then the Champions League, okay, it's nice to watch big clubs take on each other, and also the knockout stages. The group stages are really fun for me, because that's like, okay, it's still a bit of some smaller clubs and versing the big clubs, and you see who goes on. And then by the end of it, I kind of get bored unless it's United at the end. But it's like the same teams make it to the end, and like, okay, it's boring by the end. So for me, it's that whole competition between smaller and bigger clubs.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have lost.
Passion.
You wouldn't have lost that competition with the Super League, because United would
would
still have faced Burnley in the Premier League. No one was getting rid of the Premier League.
I know, but like, the whole idea for Super League didn't like really appeal to me, and I heard like rumors saying that apparently games weren't even going to be played at club stadiums. They were going to be played at like a neutral
No,
ground.
no, no. That's just the final. That
Oh,
of the Super League would have been played on a neutral ground.
but the whole fun of it was like, watching United play Barcelona once in a while, like once every 2 years, or it was like a luxury to watch a big game. And
Here's a
now with
question.
Super
So,
League coming in, it's
okay.
like, okay, you're watching them play so many times.
Here's a question. Do you follow the Champions League now?
No, not because, no, United's not in
I,
it,
I
so.
don't I don't I don't either because AC Milan hasn't been in the Champions League for nearly 10 years now. No, it's since 2012. It's nearly 10 years now. And
Yeah,
I can assure you I have missed finals, Champions League finals, and I have not watched the Champions League ever since because of course you're going to watch the Champions League when your team is there. Now the
yeah, yeah,
thing
yeah.
is, imagine having the Champions League, right, with these top clubs. It is from a sports perspective. Of course, it is not good, as we said, but from an audience perspective, that is the only way in which you can gather huge crowds. So if you take the NFL, for instance, or the NBA, this is how they work. Even basketball here in Europe, it works like that. There's this EuroLeague, which is basically the European Super League in football. The
Mm.
exact same concept. Furthermore, the UEFA pushed this new Champions League package that is going to come in 2024. Well, that's basically the Super League because they have they have I think 8 to 10 slots for elite clubs which didn't make it to the Champions League. So, for instance, Real Madrid doesn't make it to the Champions League. They have this slot because they can get in. It's like a wild card. So it's basically the European Super League, the concept. So are we going to stop following the Champions League in 2024? That is my question.
Nah, I don't know if it's just me and like that I've lost interest, a bit of interest in football as the years have gone on. But I mean, I'm just happy watching Premier League for now. I don't even watch the what's Europa, and until the finals. Like sometimes I'll watch the Champions League finals.
But if Man United were in the Champions League, you would be watching the Champions League.
Yeah, 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 true.
That
I
is the
would.
yeah,
Okay,
that
but
is
but
the point.
you mentioned the NFL and the NBA and stuff. So it's funny that you mentioned that because the European football adopting this whole American model, sports model. It's actually because a guy named Charlie Stillaton. What? Charlie. I don't know his last name.
Where is he
It's a
from?
bit. He has like a difficult last name, but they call him Champagne Charlie.
Okay.
He is the guy apparently behind this whole operation.
Hmm.
It was his idea. And this guy, he doesn't belong to any club, he doesn't belong to any league, but he is very well connected in the US. And he was actually one of the first guys on scene when the US Soccer League was launched. Um, yeah, and he was actually responsible for arranging the whole Man United versus Real Madrid game in the US. And that had over 100,000 fans attend. So yeah, so this guy then approached Perez, the Real Madrid president,
Oh,
sold the
Charlie Stilitano.
yes, that guy. Yeah, so he approached Perez and sold him the idea. Perez loved it, and then the whole idea afterwards was then now to sell it to the other clubs. And why it was such an easy sell for most of the clubs, well, the English clubs, is because their owners also own NFL or what's the basketball
NBA?
league called? NBA, yeah. Um, they owned those clubs as well. So for them, it was like, okay, we're making money in those American leagues. If we can do the same for our European football teams, that would be amazing. So it was an easy sell for them. And then that's how the whole thing, you know,
Mm-hmm. No, I didn't
got the
know that.
buy-in. So yeah, so this guy was essentially behind the whole thing.
Very fun. Very interesting. I didn't know that. But if you take football for instance, when was the last golden age of football? It was from 2000 to 2010 maybe.
I
We
think
had
2009, 8,
yeah, yeah,
2009.
same. When we had the Galacticos in Real Madrid, when we had outstanding AC Milan, when we had Manchester United on top of the world, and if you take all these clubs, the common thing between them is that they didn't have financial problems. Then
Mm,
came the economic crisis and now the pandemic and everything. When there's financial problems, so people complain that it's getting too much all about money. True,
mm.
okay, but at the same time, we have to understand that it is money that buys you players. If you want to see a Lionel Messi, or a Cristiano Ronaldo, or an Erling Haaland, or Mbappe playing, or Neymar, you need to allow money to be in the system.
Yeah. And for me it's like football hasn't been in inverted commas the people's sport for a few
Exactly.
decades now.
No, even more. I think
UEFA
it's a
and FIFA
century.
have been so corrupt.
Hmm.
They've mismanaged funds over the years. They've taken football away from the people decades ago and just, put rose-colored glasses over everyone's eyes to think that, the sport is ours, but they've been running the shit since
Absolutely. I
for
wanted to
dog
get there.
years.
I wanted to get there a bit later on because we have a lot to say about FIFA, and I have a lot to say about FIFA and UEFA. But yeah, if you
Finally, we're on the same page here.
no, we are. I deeply. So I was talking to my girlfriend while this whole thing was happening, and she was all mad about it because she's a Roma supporter at a club which wasn't included in the Super League, and I was saying, okay, you know what? Let's agree on one thing. The best thing that the European Super League is doing is the collateral damage to FIFA and UEFA. I was waiting
Yes.
to see them burn, to see those
Yeah.
buildings burn down and never
That
see
was
them again.
one thing I wanted to see was the collapse of
Absolutely,
UEFA and FIFA.
absolutely. FIFA and UEFA are the last colonialistic monopolies we have in the world, and I hate them deeply,
Yes.
deeply hate them to all the things they did in Asia, in Africa, and so on. But
They
anyway,
need to, yeah.
if you take UEFA, just to close up on the economic side of it, if you take UEFA, which has been pushing this financial fair play, it hasn't allowed us to build a stadium, to buy players, and us as AC Milan, with a huge history, we've made the history of football. We are the second best Champions League winners with 7 Champions League in our history. We are on top of the world, to be fair, and we've been relegated, not relegated, but we've been fighting for seventh place in the league, and just this year we've been fighting a bit better, but it's getting hard, and we the fans cannot sustain that. So I I mean I just understand all the people that are angry at UEFA and FIFA, and let's get to this marvelous world of FIFA. So one of the
Okay,
things,
so going to explaining who
oh
UEFA and
right,
FIFA are
yeah,
for people who don't understand.
there are two organizations which manage football, let's say. FIFA manages football on a world scale, and UEFA manages it. It's like the European subsidiary of FIFA. They're both based in Switzerland, if I'm not wrong, in Geneva, because Switzerland is all neutral and everything, so it was
Mm.
the best
And I think
place to.
in Africa we have CAF
Yeah, and you
football.
have yeah, we have CAF in Africa, which at times works better than UEFA. But anyway, let's not go there. So yeah, and they were of course the two organizations going all against this European Super League because the Super League was to be independent from FIFA and UEFA. And the thing about the Super League, which was wrong, is that its top positions were taken by all these presidents. And if FIFA and UEFA cannot do the sports interest, I do not think that club presidents can do the sports interest. So that was one of the problems of the Super League. I do not think that Florentino Perez himself will be thinking about football before himself or his club. So that was one of the problems of not making it completely independent. But anyway, FIFA, what a long history. Yeah, I think it's the most corrupt organization in the world. Its a previous president, you might have heard of him, Sepp Blatter, who is he French or Swiss? I can't remember.
I'm not sure actually. I think
Let me
he's
check.
French.
Let me check.
Yeah, but apparently, like every World Cup
Swiss.
that was won by countries have been
Yeah,
underhanded,
sold.
like
Yeah,
backhand,
like
like
even
bribes.
even the Qatar 2022 World Cup, which is going to take place next year in winter, disrupting national leagues because in Qatar during summer it's too hot to play, and they're playing their enclosed stadiums, and we're going to get there.
It was there was too much loss for PSG to join, and they didn't want to
Exactly.
step on FIFA's toes by
Mm-hmm.
joining because obviously,
Yeah.
and also there's TV broadcasting deal with B BEIN Sport.
Ah, being sport.
Yeah, that that
Mm, exactly.
I need to
Um,
work on all these pronunciations.
so this is the thing about Anglophones. You kind of struggle more to adapt to other languages' pronunciations at times. So, for instance,
Yeah.
Stilitano, it appeared to be hard. I mean, it's not about you specifically, but it's like all you Anglophones find it hard to
Yeah.
pronunciate other names. But yeah, I mean, we were talking about Sepp Blatter. Sepp Blatter at the Ballon d'Or in 2013, which is this ceremony when they give out this golden ball to the best footballer during the past year. He literally sexually harassed a female goalkeeper of the US national team, Hope Solo, and she came
Yes.
out and said that. And FIFA, these corrupt pigs, they all went around Blatter and said nothing happened, we didn't see anything, so Blatter is completely innocent. And that is, I think, the point of no return. With all the corruption that had been going on and all this sexual harassment on Blatter and everything, he ultimately had to resign. And like 2 months after winning his last mandate, he just resigned. But this is FIFA, right? And
It's also like a bunch of old white men that just like, when are you going to resign? They holding on to their positions until they die. Like Sepp Blatter, I think he would have only given up his position when he was in his grave,
yeah,
to be honest.
you don't have diversity in FIFA, so you do not have like presidents coming from all these different countries. So if you take the UN, for instance, the United Nations, every time a mandate ends, they go on a voting process, and you have presidents from South Korea, from Brazil, from Portugal, from wherever. So you have kind of a diversity. In FIFA, it doesn't work like that. All the presidents have been, I think, European, of course, white males. So I think FIFA is at the moment the worst organization we can see around the world. So, and I strongly think that. At the same time, in Qatar, they have this little problem, just like in the United Arab Emirates, where they use slaves, basically, to build
Yes.
stadiums. And the FIFA was called there to send their supervisors to, have a look and see what's happening there. And it appears they didn't find anything. But funny enough, When they went back and work started going in progress and everything, well, they found out there were slaves were working there. So how it works, they basically go like to India and Bangladesh and Pakistan, and they take these poor guys, selling them the idea of Doha, of Dubai, of Abu Dhabi, and all these things, and they bring them to the United Arab Emirates or to Qatar or to all these Middle East rich countries, and they basically take their passports away so they cannot flee the country, and they start working there, and they give them these little rooms, very small rooms where they live like in 20 of them. And with this whole pandemic that's been going on, they've been dying even more because they don't have any distancing or anything. They're living like 20 in a very small room, so that there is no way to protect yourself from diseases or anything. And they're not given but they're barely given any food during the day. And the FIFA didn't do anything. The FIFA, they had the audacity to come yesterday and say Qatar has made very huge steps in regards to human rights. That is not true. That is not true. People are
Oh,
dying there to
the
build our
audacity.
entertainment. Yeah. So next year, when you're going to turn up the TV and you're going to watch the World Cup of this FIFA that you've been so adamantly defending these past few days, because they are the essence of football, because your PlayStation game is named FIFA, just think of those people who died. I think it's like 6,400 people who died so far. These are 6,000 people who had families.
They weren't even given proper burials. They weren't
Not at
sent
all.
back to their families. They were just tossed into graves,
Absolutely. So just think,
replaced by
yeah,
more slaves.
just think about that. Think about those people who died. And this is the FIFA you've been defending. And I think that the question now should arise. Yes, let's scrap the Super League. Okay, that's not good for sports. But can we have a serious talk about how football is going to move forward? Is it going to rely on corruption? Is it going to rely on powerful white male doing business and hoping that they will do the best for football when they're clearly not going to? Can we have a serious discussion about that? Because otherwise, I really can't see football moving forward, and
And I
I
think that with this whole Super League thing, it shows that people actually do have the power to sway decisions. You just need to keep, I mean, put the same pressure on UEFA and FIFA. It might take a bit longer, but they need to be held accountable. They need to make changes because at the end of the day, they are the reason why this whole Super League issues started because they essentially crippled European
absolutely.
football clubs with
Absolutely.
their money mismanagement and corruption. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think the whole thing about romantic football, poetic football, I think it died when we lost our last great players, Maldini in AC Milan, or I don't know, Figo in Real Madrid. All those players who were playing in the very first, in the early 2000s, when they were gone, that's when football started to be stopped being proper football how we know it.
Yeah.
And since then it's been money. It's been basically money. I can't remember when I was a child. I can't remember fans talking about the club's finances, how much money does the club have available, and now it's all that.
Have you ever watched that series called The English Game?
Don't
It
reckon I
was
have.
about football. It was about this football club.
Oh,
I can't even remember.
I saw the trailer, but
It was really nice because it shows how most of these football clubs started, where they just take like the mill workers and you know the lower class people, and they formed football clubs and they started playing, and it represented hope for the people, and it was all about passion. And so all this
Mhm.
eventually was taken, was capitalized essentially, where these money hungry people came in like, okay, look, people are enjoying this game, and let's take it and now make money out of it. How can we? And then it just from there just built on and built on. And yeah, so I think the game was gone long before the early 2000s, maybe not to the degree it has now, but it slowly started dying from.
Absolutely.
I saw a funny tweet the other day where it said, someone said football died the day they banned removing your shirt to celebrate a goal.
Oh my lord, yeah. I mean, I've never
Do
understood
you
that.
remember the days when footballers were allowed to do that?
No, but I've always wondered
Oh, it was
why.
beautiful. I loved football then.
I
I
d-
was just like, yes, score more goals.
oh Lord. No, but I can't remember that. I can't
No,
remember.
man, it was right up until 2008 and 9, they were still taking off their shirts to celebrate.
Yeah, but I never paid attention to that. I mean, it's like, I mean, they still do it. They just get a yellow card for it.
Yeah, yeah, they
But
get
that
yellow
is,
carded.
yeah.
But before they were allowed completely.
Oh, okay. I really didn't know that. I mean, that is just a stupid rule. I think that uh, as
When
far
when
as
Ronaldo did it, they
yeah, I
must have.
remember that is a famous scene, like, when he scored against. It was like a free kick goal against. Can't remember, but it was an important game. I think it was Everton, but I can't remember. But yeah, um, I think as far as current football is concerned, we cannot revert capitalism.
Yeah,
Right. I think at the moment, if we really want to save the sport, we have to come to terms that we cannot revert capitalism. But in that sense, we should we should put some rules. For instance, the salary cap. One of the things I appreciated the most of the Super League. So you have these players making 40 millions a year. I mean, completely fine with it. But at the same time, these players were talking on Twitter and Instagram and saying football is for the people. Oh, you're making 40 bloody pounds a year. I mean, of course you're going to. I mean, this whole thing about when you have such huge wages and your club cannot spend that money on investing in the stadium or making a new shop or a new cafe in the stadium, that means that football is not for the people. So if you want
exactly.
to revolutionize football, we need to put a salary cap first. Right. So, like it was in the Super League, clubs cannot spend more than 55% of their revenue on salaries. Completely fine. That is the single greatest thing that was in the Super League. Then we should force clubs to invest that money. I mean, it is not that, like, you as a club, you save $100 million, and those $100 million, like 70 of them go to the owners. That's not how it can work. You have to require clubs to invest a part of the revenue. Like you have 55% on a salary cap. At least 30% should be spent on investment each year. And
What do you
invest.
what do you think about the whole thing with German football clubs where they have the 50+1 model where um, fans are part of the decision making process at the club, or fans own a certain percentage of there are fans are stakeholders in the club. What do you think about that?
I am completely in favor of that because I'm a huge fan of stakeholder capitalism, it is, in brief, it's the contrary of shareholder capitalism. Shareholder capitalism makes the interests of shareholders. Stakeholder capitalism makes the interests of stakeholders. Stakeholder is the community around the club, is the fans, is the people living near the stadium. So, as a fan of stakeholder capitalism, I do think that is a proper model. Fans and people of the community should have a say in the club they support, of course. So I'm completely in favor of that. I,
Okay, yeah.
uh,
I
uh,
also think it's a really good idea.
mhm. At the same time, I don't think it should be made legally required, because I don't believe in the states, in the government having a say on how you decide to structure your club. But at the same time, I think that every single club should have that model of stakeholder capitalism. That's how I see it. I think it's for the best. If you really want to say that football is for the fans in the era of capitalism, you have to give fans a voice. And how do you give fans a voice in a company? Is you give them a share of the company. So I'm completely in favor, personally.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
see,
no, I
we
also
can
when
agree.
I it was the first time I heard about it was now in this whole uh, saga. I was like, okay, this is interesting, but I haven't had a moment to like research it a bit more. Um, yeah.
It's kind of a democratic process brought to companies. I mean, if you are going to have a new president, or you want to ensure that it is someone that is not chosen by someone else. So, for instance, when AC Milan was sold by Berlusconi to a Chinese man, if the AC Milan club had this structure, just like the German clubs, we would not have sold the club to some random Chinese who came in with no money, basically, because we didn't have any info on his net worth or anything. We didn't even know who he was. And indeed, he came for 1 year, and then he was pushed out of the country, and he went back to China, and the whole club went to this investment fund, Elliott Investment Group, these Americans. So yeah, I do think that is the proper model, to be fair.
And speaking of ownership, I was just thinking, so now moving from football to F1. Do you know who I was thinking about the other day? VJ Malia,
Oh, the
Force India
guy.
owner.
He was a proper F1 fan, to be fair.
Yes. I really like the guy. Like
Me too.
he was such a character, and I'm just so I was trying to find like updates on where he's at now with his case and stuff, and his last post on Twitter was him uh recommending some Paraka shop or something. So yeah,
Oh, poor VJ. I mean, he was a
I know.
proper
I was like, I
fan.
wonder when he's gonna come back. But then I remembered a tweet he tweeted once about the winnings of Sunderland. Like he's like Sunderland earned more finishing in 20th place than Force India did finishing in fourth, I think.
And
And
just to say,
he's like maybe I should buy a football team.
Sunderland finishing 20 earns more than the winner of the Italian National League. So you can see why the top three clubs were pursuing the Super League. We our clubs do not earn any money basically out of the National League. But yeah, I miss VJ. So VJ was this president of Force India, and Force India, if you take a look at it, was the best club, no, the best team, making the most out of its resources. They didn't have too much money. It was just
No,
this
they really didn't.
Indian guy who, yes, he was like a millionaire or a billionaire or
Yeah,
something, but
he's
they
a
didn't.
billionaire.
But they didn't have much money, to be fair, and they made the most of it. They found the best engineers, the best sponsor deals, and they came out with a car which was so competitive compared to others like Haas, which has never managed, except for a couple of years, which has never managed to be on top or to be in the top of the midfield. But Force India did, and I really loved the guy. He was a proper
Mm.
fan. He was like an Indian Enzo Ferrari, a very small proportion of Enzo Ferrari. But if you think of him, it was that.
Yeah, my old Indian uncle. I hope he wins his case. I mean,
Me
I'm never
too.
for like, millionaires and billionaires. I'm like, okay, if you get arrested and fined and you know you found a fraud, like that's your own thing. But I don't know. There's actually an episode on Netflix. It's called Indian Billionaire Bad
Yeah,
Boys or something.
yeah,
And the one episode is about him. Um
VJ. Oh
yeah,
Lord, I really miss him. I want to see him back in the paddock
definitely.
someday. Yeah, and at the same time, if you take Lawrence Stroll, he's a billionaire as well, and he's the head of which was Racing Point F1. Now is I think a shareholder of Aston Martin Lagonda, and
Yes.
which owns the Aston Martin Cognizant F1 team. And I don't know, if I had to choose between the two billionaires, I would choose BJ. Oh.
Same. And also that's some Indian representation on the grid right there.
Oh Lord, I loved him. Well, let's hope for the best for him as well. Yeah, he's such a nice. He was such a nice guy. He appeared to be such a nice guy. Did you like the Imola GP?
The best part of that GP for me was when Russell got up to punch Bottas in the head.
And he was wrong.
That was just the funniest moment for me. I was like, I'm gonna laugh about this until
I
the
know.
next race.
You know why I was laughing? Because when the camera looked at it, there was Alonso who went out,
Yes.
and it looked like he was just checking on them.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, it looked like he came to check what
Yeah,
was the fuss about, and then he just went.
exactly.
And what? And then the funniest part was, I think Martin Brundle was commentating, and he's like, going to check if Bottas is okay. I was like, bruh, he's not checking if he's okay. He wants to hit him.
Oh Lord, no! The Alonso bit had me in tears.
That everything about those few seconds were just so hilarious.
And if you think of it, I mean, if you think of it, this is going to be in history. Years from now, we're going to go back and see this video, and we're going to back to see Alonso coming out of the gravel, looking like he was checking on them.
Yeah.
It's the best part for me. Hold on, but yeah, it's been a fun GP.
The Ferraris were
We
quite
were on fire.
competitive.
Hadn't it been for the red flag and the lost team radio for Sean, we would have been P2 and P3 because we had very decent pace, to be fair, as even compared to the McLarens, because McLaren sacrificed the race to have track position going better in qualifying, but we had a very strong race pace.
Mm.
And I'm really, really happy to see my team perform so well in the wet and then even on a dry track. It's been a good show. I loved it. I mean, I would have hoped for a podium, but yeah, I mean, you can't have everything.
Yeah, I would have rather Charles have been on the podium than Norris, so you don't.
I love you. Yes, yes. Say that louder. I hate Lando Norris.
That was a
Sorry.
once-off thing.
No, 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 no. I mean, I can't stand the guy. I can't put up with him.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, not at all. And did he say something sexist lately? Because I had something on my Twitter
Ooh,
timeline.
again.
No, I don't know. It's not like lately. I think it was like
Oh,
last month.
yes, it was a couple months ago. I think he was playing a game on Twitch. They were streaming, and he said something. I can't even remember what it was.
Okay. No. Well, I can't remember, so I can't judge on that. But yeah,
Yeah, no, I don't really follow
I've never
him. I
trusted.
muted him, so his stuff doesn't come up on my timeline and disrupt my
Yeah, me too.
peaceful energy.
And
And also, I'm blocking Lewis Hamilton and his thirst trapping Instagram stories until the end of Ramadan. This man has no shame.
I don't follow him on Instagram, so I don't know what pictures you're talking about. But
He
is
is
it like
thirst
workout pictures?
trapping. Some
Oh.
woman has him on his knees.
It's Ramadan, Nabila.
I know, I'm blocking him.
Oh Lord. But yeah, it's been very fun. Next GP is in Portugal, isn't it?
Yes.
That is going to be
Yes.
fun as well. That is absolutely going to be fun. Like Imola and Portugal are so fun tracks to go to, and I just love them. And I
And
think,
Portugal only came back by chance. Like, it was never planned for them to come back. It
no,
just happened last year.
yeah, it's like something that happened. I think it's the only good thing that came with COVID. It's like having Imola back and having. What do you think of the Miami track?
Oh, I saw that. I was just like, oh, it just looks like money.
I hate it. Why do these Americans have to have two Grand Prix? I mean, we Italians have two Grand Prix, but we are Italians.
Yeah, I mean, it's heritage.
Yeah. Imola and Monza, I mean, they are like proper uh, car circuits, car
And
tracks.
also, the last time I heard was residents was against this whole thing. And
I hope so. I really
no,
hope
they
so.
were, but I think they probably bought them off for something for this to go ahead because residents were not
Americans.
happy.
Americans. When there's something wrong, just buy the problem.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Everything about them is money and like
Yeah.
it seems like another world they live in.
I saw a tweet yesterday, which was so good, which says that the UK is the worst country in history on planet Earth. They invented Americans. They
Yeah.
invented Boris Johnson.
Yes.
They invented colonialism. They they are like the worst country on earth.
Um No, and I was also going to say this whole case with George Floyd's
Yeah.
killer was happening yesterday, and people were like celebrating like this
Why?
was a huge win. I'm like, bruh, this is one tiny drop in the ocean. Do you not understand that the system will literally sacrifice a few to keep itself intact? You need the whole system to crumble. I mean, I'm glad he was held accountable, but it's still not enough. It's
Did you see what Nancy Pelosi said, the Speaker of the House?
yes.
How can you say something like that?
He she made it sound like he went to war and he fought so bravely. Like
Yeah.
I was
Thank you for
shocked.
dying.
I can't. Sometimes
I
I
mean,
just have to distance myself from American anything
no, but do
because
you
it's
have?
too much. It's unbelievable.
I mean,
It's
when you are the Speaker of the House and you have a speech, do you go to someone and say, "What do you think of this?" Has anyone said, "Oh, it looks good. It sounds good"? Has anyone double checked that? That is
I
my
don't
question.
think so. I don't think so.
How
It's like
can?
no approval process. You just blurt out the first thing that comes to your head.
Oh my lord! Well,
And also, yeah,
Americans.
there's fires here in Cape Town, and
Really?
the university library caught on fire, and hundreds or few documents like old artifacts and stories pre-apartheid, they were being held there, not shared with the world, all destroyed in the fire. And so it's like stories that we've never heard of before, statements and accounts of people's lives. I think that's so sad that all this is being gate kept and now it's destroyed by a fire, and these
Hmm.
people's whose stories and stuff were in there is like just lost. Yeah,
Um,
it's sad. But apparently it was an arsonist attack. So there's this massive fire raging on Table Mountain and the mountains around in Cape Town for a few days now, and yeah, it's been insane. They've had to evacuate students. They've had to evacuate residents.
oh,
And yeah, but
well,
apparently it was an arsonist attack, so they've arrested a suspect.
okay.
I don't know
Wow.
what goes through people's minds. And also, then, how funny is this? The next day after the fire started, the Table Mountain, the Parks Association had to warn people not to go for hikes. Who looks at a big raging fire and thinks,
Goes for a
what a
hike.
nice day for
I
a
go for a
hike and a
hike.
picnic on the mountain, Susan? Let's go for a hike. Bruh, are you stupid? Are you stupid? I saw that and I was just like, oh my days.
Oh my lord. Well, just
The
stay
world.
safe and don't go for a hike. And
Exactly. Just don't, if you see a fire, don't go for a hike. You can sacrifice, go and work
isn't
out at
that
the gym.
isn't that like primal instinct? Self-preservation.
Clearly, some people don't have it.
Wow.
Yeah, go put
Well,
the treadmill on 20 gradient and go climb up.
oh God. Oh, it's so funny. Politics is so funny sometimes. But yeah, this has been super fun. And oh, wait. A last minute news. In 2024, two Champions League places will be given to the clubs with the highest club coefficient that weren't able to qualify to the Champions League through the domestic leagues. For example, if a club like Manchester United ends up ranked sixth in the Premier League, they would still qualify. Isn't this the Super League?
UEFA are shitting their pants.
Oh God. Well.
I don't think this chapter in footballing history will be forgotten.
Not at all. It was like 2 days, but 2 days which are going to be remembered in history, in the history of football at least.
I just wish they put like this much they put this much energy into eradicating racism in football. That's
Yeah,
next. That is what they're tackling next.
I think, yeah, I absolutely agree because you can still see like referees or sometimes even players or making some racist remarks, or even fans making racist remarks. And we have to say that at times they do get properly banned. For instance, fans, they get spot by some camera and they get properly banned. We have you know, that happens. But at the same time, it kind of feels that this is not stressed enough. And yeah, I do agree. I hope they can put the same energy on more uh, appropriate sectors of the football world.
Hmm. I like the efforts that the clubs are starting to take against
Hmm.
racism.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Manchester United has as well, like when you see Red, something like that, new campaign they launched against
yes,
racism,
show
and
racism the
mm,
red.
yeah, and AC Milan have launched this new campaign like We Respect, and they made like a pact with some other clubs to eradicate racism on a national level, of course. And they kind of have this new policy where they start, if you say something racist and they see it, they will just block you on every single Siri. Sorry, it was Siri.
Is Siri eavesdropping?
Yeah, and it's the FBI, and
Oh, it was
uh,
FIFA. They heard us talk about them.
oh Lord, oh, I can't wait
Hopefully,
for.
our podcast doesn't get banned for all this slander, but it
I
needs
don't
to be
think.
brought to light.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they will. Um, I mean, we have the right to say whatever our opinion is. So, and these are all opinions and nothing more. But yeah, let's hope for the best for football in the
Yeah,
coming
I'm still
years.
very disappointed that Man United tried to sell us out, but I'm an Aston Villa fan now.
Why? Oh Lord, no. I,
Jack Grealish is my captain.
I mean, small clubs. I fear for them. But at the same time, like here in Italy, they had this meeting, all the clubs, and said, okay, but if you go on with the Super League, these three clubs, Juve, Inter, and AC Milan, are going to win the National League every single year. And the thing is that it's been like that for the past 80 years. So if you take it from now, the past 80 years, except for 5 years, it's always been Juventus, Inter, and Milan. Juventus have
Yeah.
won
I
like
don't
30.
remember a time like in my lifetime I've never seen anyone else win the Italian league.
Exactly. So Juventus have won like 36, Milan 18, and Inter 18, and now going on 19. So it's basically been always us.
Flip. I mean, the year Leicester won, it's kind of the same with English football, and then Leicester came in and everyone was just shook. That was a brilliant year.
Yeah, but it's once in a century.
Yeah.
That is not football. If that happens once in a century, that's not football, and that is not an example. Quite the contrary, that is an example. But since it's happening once in a century, that's an example of how football is not working now. And you cannot just say no to the European Super League and sit back and relax.
Yeah.
Because football is not working now either, even without the Super League. Well, anyway, let's wrap this up. It's been so fun, and make sure to send us all your opinions on the matter and correct us if we said anything wrong. And we wish you a very fine end of the weekend.
Yes, but don't try and change our minds about FIFA and UEFA. We still think that they are corrupt and need to be reformed, and the entire boards need to be purged. Goodbye.
I do agree. Bye-bye.
Bye.